So for the past few weeks, we've been talking about Moses and the burning bush from Exodus chapter 3. And today I would want to focus on the verse 4 and 5. And it says that when the Lord saw Moses coming to take a closer look, God called to him from the middle of the bush, "Moses, Moses, here I am." Moses replied, "Do not come any closer," the Lord warned. "Take off your sandals, for you are standing on holy ground." Now imagine someone giving you an invitation or someone inviting you to a place, and the person makes you feel so comfortable around them. The person gives you the opportunity to get to know them, get acquainted with them, and then you get to that point where they say you can no longer pass beyond this point unless you take off certain things. Now, when you think about this thing, I truly believe this thing still applies in our lives as believers today. Like, sometimes you get to this point where you've been called because you drew closer to God. You've seen the calling of God on your life. You've seen your ministry working. In fact, you are still in it doing certain. You are moving closer and closer to God. But there is always that point where He asks us to take certain things off. Now, when Moses got to that point, and then God tells him, "Take off your sandal," He warned him. It was not something that God just said, "Moses, do you wish to take off your sandal?" The more he got closer to God, it was necessary for him to drop certain things. The more we get closer to God, it's necessary for us to drop certain sandals. And sometimes those sandals are our behaviors. Those sandals can be those attitudes that do not honor God. Those sandals can be malice. It can be unforgiveness. It can be the things that we harbor in the heart against each other. But when we became born again, or when we received Christ, or when we decided to take that journey closer to God, it made sense to walk with those things. But there is always that point where Moses needs to take off that sandals. There is always that point in our lives where we need to drop those things because we have reached on a holy ground. Now, the fact that God tells Moses to take it off, the sandals were not going to vanish from the feet of Moses. God told him to take it off, which means he had control over it. It was something that was part of him. Sometimes the devil deceives you that you were born with anger, or you were born and this is your nature. Sometimes you hear certain people saying, "This is my nature. I just get angry at people. I just insult people. I just trash people out." It cannot be your behavior as you get closer to God. There is always that point of dropping the sandals. And that is your responsibility, because God gives you that authority to be able to, because it's something. God did not tell Moses, "Take off your sandals," and Moses was saying that, "Which sandals are you talking about? I don't have any sandals on." Moses was aware of his sandals. Moses was aware of the things that were part of him that could no longer qualify as he drew closer to God. And so today I pray that God in his mercies shall grant us that grace to be aware of those things that we ought to drop, those things that we have to leave behind, because the further we get to him, the more necessary it becomes for us to drop those things. Now, as powerful as Moses would be, when you read the next verse, it says, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." As powerful as Moses would be in the life of the Israelites, God did not say the God of Moses, because there were still those sandals that he wore. He stood on grounds that were holy, but he still had his sandals, that he still had those attitudes that he has used to walk the walks of life all this while. And so I pray that by the grace of God, we'll be aware of those things that are with us, that we have control over, that God will grant us the grace to be able to drop them and get more closer and closer, becoming more like him. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.